And you're right about that. You're right about that. Because I feel as though right now there are a lot of avenues to make money. People
Hmm.
just don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
They
it's
have
true.
no idea.
Yeah.
So, uh, with no further ado, Mr. Steve, it's nice to meet you. I want to know where you're from, Steve.
Yes, sir. I live in the Indianapolis area.
Okay. Born and raised.
Born and raised in Indiana. I've lived in a few small towns, a couple medium-sized cities. Went to college at the School of Business at Indiana University, and then
Hmm.
have lived in the north side of Indianapolis ever since. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay.
My wife and we love to travel, and we said this is a great home base. So we travel everywhere, been everywhere, but just this is where we are, where family is, and it's just a good home base. So
Okay. I love that you said that you love to travel and things like that. And a lot of that I know is due to what you do
mhm.
as far as the passive income. Can you explain a little bit to me and my followers about that?
About the passive income side,
Yes, sir.
absolutely. So uh, quick background on how I got where I am. I actually started off as a financial planner. So I mentioned I went to IU School of Business, graduated with degrees in accounting and finance, and then I went into financial planning for about 10 years, helping people invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and always wanted to help people create wealth and build what they have. And after 10 years of that, the results just weren't as good as I was hoping. I'm like, okay, I mean, and there's only so much you can do. I mean, the market does what the market does. And so in 2002, I said, I think real estate is better than the stock market for creating wealth. And so I switched over, gave up my securities licenses, and spent more than the next 15 years helping people invest primarily in real estate, mostly through buy and hold, using leverage, doing that sort of thing, creating the cash flow. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, I said, okay, real estate's great, but I need diversification. I mean, almost all of my assets are in real estate. And what if something ever happens to real estate in the future? I need some diversification. And so I started looking for other passive cash flow opportunities about 4 or 5 years ago. And I was really surprised at how many I found. I didn't think there'd be as many. It was hard for the first few months not finding too many, but then I found one and then another. And then, when I found one of them, they referred me to a couple more, and it just kind of kept expanding and expanding. And now I'm invested in tons of different things. And so what I started doing about a year and a half ago is showing other people how to do what I did. And so that's really where the this program evolved from, was how to generate passive cash flow. As a matter of fact, my daughter just started college about 2 weeks ago. And my goal 4 to 5 years ago was, how can I generate enough passive cash flow to pay for both of my kids to go to college with just the passive cash flow? And so that was really the question I asked myself that kind of started this whole thing, is how do I generate enough passive cash flow to pay for my kids to go to college? So,
Wow, wow, that's awesome. That's an awesome answer also. And I was checking out your site. I was checking out you. I've seen a couple interviews actually from you. You're very inspiring to people, especially the younger folks that want to know how to get extra cash because especially now, the way that things are going, money is kind of tight. We're in a, certain kind of situation. So I'm a barber myself. So, I guess I would ask you, barber money, it comes fast, it can go fast, but if I was looking for somewhere to invest money or, a place to say, well, I'm gonna put this here so it can grow, what would you want to give me?
so one of the things that I would do is I talk a lot about looking at money differently. And so many people think of investing as, buy low, sell high. That's investing. Whether you buy gold, buy low, sell high, buy stocks, buy low, sell high, buy crypto, and that's buy and hold. And the problem with that is you've got to pick the right investment, buy at the right time, sell at the right time. And if you do all three of those properly, then yes, you can make money. But so much of that is out of your control. And so what I show people how to do is, don't focus so much on buy and hold and trying to find the right investment that's going to take off, the right tech stock that's got some proprietary thing that's going to make millions. Maybe you get lucky and get the right one, but for every one you find that does work, you're going to find 4 or 5 that don't. But instead, if you focus on cash flow, I tell people, go buy a golden goose. or buy a goose that's going to lay golden eggs. And every day you get that golden egg. Doesn't matter if it's, hot outside or cold outside. It doesn't matter what the price of goose is today. You're getting gold every day. That's what you want. You want that cash flow. Then you can start making decisions on what to do with that. And then maybe you get a couple different types of geese. Well, this one lays, big eggs, but once a week. And this one lays, eggs in the winter only. And this one lays, and so next thing you know, you've got, a couple dozen geese laying golden eggs of different kinds. Now you've got that diversification. And so I try and get people to think of it from a standpoint of you want cash flow, not so much buy and hold. And so that's one of the first things I show people. And that really helps to change that perspective on money. Because if you got cash flow, you're in good shape. If you have enough to cover your bills, great. You've got more, well, then you can reinvest that. And that's where we get that compounding and what I call the velocity of money going. Again, if you need $5,000 a month and now you're making your money's making $8,000 a month, great. Use that extra $3,000 to buy more, and next thing you know, that $8,000 a month will be $9,000 a month or $10,000 a month. And so by using the cash flow to reinvest in more cash flow, it just starts compounding, and that's really how you get financial freedom.
Steve, I'm really, really, really glad and relieved that you said that, because me myself, it was like I was kind of looking at it as in it's just a boom. It's one of those things that just hits and everything comes at once. But if I'm understanding you correctly, the thing I should be looking for is just income coming in. It doesn't matter, just the income, just the the currency coming in, not about how much it is, but having income coming in so that way I know that I'm going to have this amount coming in.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll share, and most people think of yourself somewhere on the spectrum. Okay. On the one end, you have people that 100% of their income comes from their job, whatever that job is. Okay. And then on the other end of that spectrum, there are people who 100% of their income comes from their investments. They don't have to do anything, just they get, and I can talk about this a little bit more later, but dividends, interest, cash flow from rent, whatever, but it's all income from their investments. And then in the middle, there's that transition where, okay, I've got a primary job, but maybe I started a little side hustle where I've got a little bit of extra, and I've got a little, online store that I started, or a little this that I do that generate a little bit of extra. And so you're not solely dependent on that job, but maybe the job is a majority of it. But as you get more and more to these little side hustles, or more and more into investments that are generating the passive cash flow, now you've got more and more income from those, and you're less dependent on that job. And I'm not saying you should quit your job, but again, going back to example earlier, if you need $5,000 a month and your job is paying $5,000, okay, great. But if you've got a side hustle that's paying $3,000 a month and investments are paying $2,000 a month, that you got $5,000 there. If that job, something happens and you're just sick and tired of it and you've got to quit, you can. You've got $5,000 from your side hustle and your income and your investments. That gives you that freedom to be able to leave. If you don't need to leave, well, now you just take that $5,000 extra every month and you reinvest it. And the next thing you know, like I said, it grows and grows. And so just think of where you are on that spectrum of having a job, having a side hustle, and eventually having all your income coming from investments.
I love that. I love that because I love what I do. I love what I do. And the reason why I love what I do is because I love, barbering. But at the same time, I would love to keep doing that. I heard you say if you want to quit your job, then you can do that. You see, I would love to keep it, which is even better,
Right.
and still get that passive income. Why not?
Yeah. Right.
You
Do it
know?
until you can't do it, or don't want to, or something changes, and just keep making money in multiple ways, both active and passive. And at some point you're going to get tired of doing it, and or want to try something different. So at least you've got that financial freedom to be able to make a change if you want to.
Okay, Steve, I want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
I want to ask you what made you want to give this back to everybody else? What made you want to help people get to where you're at now?
It's funny you say that. I grew up, both of my parents are ministers.
Mhm.
And so I grew up in the church. and just watching. One of the jokes with my mom is the little town she's in. They call her the Mother Teresa of that little town. She just
Mhm.
I told people she doesn't understand tithing. Most people think you give 10% of what you earn. She thinks you're supposed to give what you earn plus 10%.
Oh
She just
yeah.
gives it all back.
Uh-huh.
And so I appreciate that. I'm a little more practical than that. I do like to donate and support charities, but I like to help other people in other ways. And this is just something like, well, why should I be the only one who's financially independent? And there's enough things out there, enough ways to generate passive cash flow. I mean, I see people stressed about their jobs, stressed about this, and if I can help relieve that or reduce that, and again, not that you have to quit your job, but at least you've got the option. And so just helping people do that, and I've done that my whole career. I mean, the first thing I did was financial planning, helping people grow their wealth. I mean, I've been doing it for more than 30 years now. It's just something I've always enjoyed, and I've just gotten better at it the last few years.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you was what keeps you motivated to do this? Because I know at times you could say, well, listen, I can just do this and just, what keeps you motivated to want to do this?
Like yourself, I enjoy what I do, and
Okay.
I've been able to set things up so that I can do most of what I do from anywhere. And so, I mean, when you look at the places that me and my family have gone, even in the last 2 to 3 years since COVID, I've been to more places in the last since COVID than a lot of people have been their entire life. And it's just, yeah. But when my son and I were in, this, last month we were in Rome and Athens. I'd get up each morning, check a few emails, do a couple things, go tour the city. End of the night, he's hopping in the shower, and all right, let me check my email, see what I got, and I'm done. And so to be able to do it from anywhere, it's not. I've got it set up so that it can be done from anywhere, so it's not really time consuming, and I enjoy it. And so that's kind of what keeps me going is I'm still able to help people, and I'm able to do it more efficiently now with some more followers and different working with people like you that kind of help spread the word, and I can help a lot more people a lot more easily. A few years ago, when everything was one-on-one, man, that took a lot of time. But now that I've got it set up and kind of group consulting, I still do one-on-one for everybody at least once, but a lot more of it is group. I've got more efficient, so I'm able to help more people than I used to by actually doing it less time. So
Okay. Now, Steve, if
mhm.
somebody was to walk up to you on the street and and say, Steve, I want to know how to get started in going about generating passive income, what would you give them? What information could you give them?
Good question. So it all depends on, again, where they are. I kind of use spectrums quite a bit. Different people are at different points in their life. There are some that, hey, I go back to earlier. My monthly budget is 5,000 and I make 4,000. Well, you're stinking every month. You got to fix that. I can't make you financially independent until you're at least even. And then other people may say, okay, I've got a even budget and I've got a few $100 extra, but that's about it. Okay, then here's how we help you create more wealth.
Hmm.
Here's how we help you create that. Or other people come to me and say, hey, I've got hundreds of thousands. I've been a doctor, nurse, IT consultant, whatever it is, for many years, and I've got this thing. I just don't know how to diversify better. Okay, then let's reallocate that to be to create diversification and passive cash flow. So different people are at different points in their lives in different situations. And so the first thing I actually do would be asking a couple questions.
Hmm.
Now, if they're towards the beginning, they say, hey, I've got a job, but I'm not drowning in debt, but I'm nowhere near retiring. Okay, well, here's what we can do. And one of the keys that I talk to people about is the difference between growing the wealth you have and creating new wealth.
Hmm.
And one of the examples I give was I bought a house one time, and I bought it what they call seller finance. So I worked out a deal with the seller, and I was going to pay him $800 a month for the next 5 years. And so that's it's like $48,000, and so that's how much I was buying the house for. I found a tenant. I'm sorry, it was $804 a month because the tenant was paying $800 a month in rent. So for 5 years, I lost $4 a month. But in 5 years, the house was paid for. So every month I'm collecting 804. I'm sorry, I'm collecting 800 in rent and paying 804 to the person I bought the house from.
Right.
And at the end of that 5 years, that house was paid off, and I sold it for $70,000.
Wow.
So I share that example because most people thinking, oh my gosh, I've only got an extra $4 a month. What's that going to do? Not much. Well, depends on how you use it. And so you use it. Don't, again, if you were to use that and buy low and sell high, you're setting aside, $48 a year. It's not going to turn into much. But if you use leverage and you use, I talk about OPM, other people's money. We talk about that in the course. Here's how to use it strategically, where you're using other people's money to create your wealth. Okay. And so a big part of the course, is, yes, diversifying for people who have money. And once you've got money, that's great. But there's also, how do you create wealth? How do you build from zero practically? And so depending on where people are, then I'm going to take kind of one of those two different things or a combination of the two. Do we need to create wealth, or do you just need to manage the wealth you have?
Amazing, amazing, amazing. See, I didn't know that. See, this is so simple that it's complicated, that it's simple. You see? So I mean, Steve, man, how would somebody go about getting in touch with you? Booking a class with you, getting a session with
Sure.
you getting started with you.
Sure.
Because it seems like you're the person that everybody needs to come to. You've
Yeah.
sold me.
Well, good. Well, and again, my clients are pretty happy. I mean, they really enjoy it. It's fun. I mean, one of the things I hear the most is you change my perspective on money. And the word I've heard, kind of funny, trajectory. I'm on a totally different trajectory now with my cash flow than I was before. But to get there, we've got a program. And if you go to my website, it's infinitepassiveassets.com. So
It's
kind of long.
infinitepassiveassets.com.
Assets.com. Yeah. And you can go there, and there's information, fill out a form, schedule a call with me. And I do all the calls. It's me. I mean, I've got a team that helps me with some other stuff, some admin and things like that. But, I'm the one that talks to every single investor. And what we have is we have a program. And again, I used to do this one-on-one with people, and I realized that I kept saying the same thing over and over again, explaining this concept, showing them this. I'm like, what? I can record those, the repetitive part, and then we have weekly calls. And so you get on the weekly calls and say, okay, Steve, hey, I was watching module 1, video number 3, and I wasn't clear on this. Could you explain this? Absolutely. That's what the calls are for: clarification, helping people out. And so you get access to these calls every single week to help clarify. I've also got an online community, so 24 hours a day, you can ask questions. Hey, and I'll check those and answer questions you may have there. And so we go through. There's 4 modules. The first one, a lot of it is education. Again, talking about cash flow, creating wealth, a variety of different things that help people think about it a little bit differently. The second module, we talk about the 6 markets. Okay, diversification is super important, but most people don't understand it the right way, in my opinion. A lot of people think, well, gosh, I'm in the stock market and I'm diversified. I've got tech stocks and healthcare stocks and oil stocks. Like, great, but they're all tied to the stock market. When the stock market goes down, they all go down together. I mean, when it goes up, they all go up together. Okay. I said, but think about this. One of my favorite of the 6 markets we utilize is agriculture. People are always going to eat. That's not going to go away. It's not a fad. People are always going to eat. But what happened to your food prices in 2022 when we had the high inflation? They skyrocketed, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
I had investments in mangoes, oranges, avocados, walnuts, coffee, and chocolate. All of them went up. They all went up with inflation. And so every year after harvest, they sell those and I get cash flow from them. And the point of all that is that cash flow is not tied to the stock market. It's not tied to interest rates. It is completely independent of those. And that's the type of diversification you need in your portfolio, completely independent. And so that's just one example. But when you've got 6 different markets that are totally independent of each other, stock market may go down. That's unfortunate. But you know what? My other 5 were, real estate was kind of flat. My other 4 were up. Okay. but that's diversification. That's what we teach in module 2 is proper diversification. Module 3 is a plan. We create a plan. Where are you now, and where do you want to be in the future? Now, if your future is more than 5 years out, then we say, hey, let's just kind of pick a 5-year point. So if you say, oh, in 15 years I want to be this, it's hard to plan that far in the future. With too many variables, too many things going to change. But let's at least come back and say, okay, where do you want to be in 4 years or 5 years? Let's get you there. And so, but where are you now? Where do you want to be? And then we come up with a plan to get you there. And everybody's plan is different because everybody has a different starting point, a different endpoint, and different risk tolerances, different factors that come into play. So we create a custom plan, and I have some videos on how to start doing that. And then that's where they get on a phone call with me when they say, hey, I think I've got my plan. Let's take a look at it together. And that's where I get on the phone with them. Let's go over this, make sure it makes sense, accomplishes the goals. Great. Then module 4 is the implementation of it. Okay, you've got a plan. We're not done. Okay, if the plan calls for this, do we need to get you some mangoes, agriculture, or do we need to do this? You need to start, building your savings over here or whatever it is. And so part 4 is the implementation. And so those are the 4 modules that everyone goes through with our program. And again, it's nice because with all these different calls, I mean, it's a team, and there'll be, people that, a guy that's, been in the program 3 months that, so a new guy asks a question, and a guy who's been in the program 3 months says, oh, I had that same issue. Here's how I figured it out, or how I handled it. And, he's got a perspective that's different from mine. And so by joining the community, by being on the calls, you get some perspective from other people as well, not just me.
Okay, Steve. Now, how many people would you say that you have on your team, and how many people would you say that you've worked with, helped generate passive income?
As far as my team, it's actually fairly small. I've got 3 full-time people, but again, I'm the main one. As far as the creating the content and everything, and so it's not a really big team. But as far as people, I mean, so far this is what November. I'm sorry, this is September. I don't know the exact number. It's been several dozen. We rolled out the program at the beginning of this year, and have been doing it since then. Before that, I was helping them one-on-one, and that's where it's like I got to get away from that. It was it was usually 12-hour-long one-on-one calls, and so I was not able to help nearly as many people last year, back in 2021, 2022, just because it was so time-consuming. And so by making the change, I've been able to help a lot more. I actually don't know the exact number, but I know it's several dozen.
But with this program that you have, and with, the way social media and everything works now, you can reach more people.
Right.
Because that's exactly how I found you.
Yeah.
Through social media.
Through social media, exactly. And we are just now starting that in the last month or two. So before that, I actually, what I did is I did a test group first for 3 months. So it's one of the reasons we haven't grown that much, is I did a test group with 12 people and had them go through the entire program, and then kind of wait 60 days or so to see what the results were to make sure it's what we wanted. And it worked fantastic. And then that's where, the middle of the summer, we're like, okay, this is doing exactly what we want. Starting in July, we started doing a little bit more marketing and promo and trying to reach out and get other people into the course. So, that's how you found me recently. So.
Okay, Steve, I have another question.
Yeah.
If I had $100, if I had $100 that I could pass over each month, how would you tell me or help me or guide me in the direction to invest that to make more passive income? If that's all I had.
That's not much. So that's where you've got to really start looking at a couple of things. One is creating wealth versus investing it. So at $100, it's hard to just invest it and make that grow. It's just not very much. But that's like the example I gave earlier is, okay, here's some things you can do to use leverage where you're going to use other people's money and maybe a little bit of your money, but a lot of somebody else's. And I can tell you, I still own, I'd have to check, about 16 to 18 properties that I bought with none of my own money, not a dime. But I did a certain strategy, and we show this in the course, but here's how you go find a strategic partner, somebody who has money but no time. If you got no money, hopefully you got a little bit of time, and it's sweat equity. here's how you go start building your real estate portfolio. Yeah, you're half owner instead of full owner, but it's somebody else's money entirely. And so there's some strategies related to that I would show you how to start creating some wealth, working with some partners that do have money, as well as some good side jobs. There's some good things online that you can do to create passive cash flow. You just say, okay, if you've got your main job covering all your main expenses and you're okay over here, and you've only got $100 extra every month, well, would you have time to go maybe do a few things to generate, turn that 100 a month into 1,000 a month? Okay, well, now you got 1,000 a month. Now you've got a lot more options, and so you just kind of start, doing more. And that's kind of what I talked about. You've got your job, you got your side hustle, and then you move it over to eventually to investments, where the investments are providing all the cash flow. But if you've only got 100, that's not a whole lot, but that's how I would do it. Would be using other people's money, some sweat equity, and then maybe a side hustle to create a little bit more income as well.
Now, see, I asked that question for a specific reason, and you answered it because I'm sure that people want to know, if I only have something like that, how can I do it? Because I'm sure, everybody wants to generate that. So he just explained it to you. He just explained it to you. Partner with somebody, find little things that you can do, and that way you can become a partner, and then you can do your own thing once you get to that point,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to share something interesting just real quick. I've got a grid that I use. I show people, here is how every billionaire has made their money the same way. A lot of people don't realize that. And you go for a list of 100 billionaires, 100 richest people in America. And they made their money in one of two ways. One is real estate, and one is by owning a business. Okay. And people say, well, gosh, such and such inherited their money. Okay. Who'd they inherit it from? Oh, they inherited it from their grandpa, Sam Walton, who was a business owner. I mean, the money was always created by business or real estate. And within those two types of investments, there's two strategies. One is OPM, is they all use other people's money. They use leverage, they use different things to get the business going, to get started. I mean, just it's amazing when you read biographies or listen to some billionaires on how they got started. Like, yeah, I was living in my car and I borrowed money from a friend to do this, and now they're a billionaire. It was always other people's money at some point. And the other thing is they use other people's time. In other words, they have, whether it was employees, whether it was partners, whether it was consultants, whether it in some way, shape, or form, you can't make $1 billion by yourself. You've got to have other people. You got a team. You have other people's time, maybe their skill set. And one of the examples I use is in property management. I used to manage all my own properties because I was frugal. I was going to save some money.
Mm-hmm.
But what I realized is that that's not my skill set. I'm sitting here, busting my butt to try and get someone in this house. I'm like, all right, $750 a month. All right, $700 a month, $650 a month. I couldn't get anyone in there. I hired a property manager. 2 weeks later, they got someone in there at $800 a month. And yeah, I've got to pay them 10%. But if I had done that right up front, I would save tons of money. I realized that I wasn't taking advantage of other people's time, both their hourly time, but also their skill time. Take advantage of other people and their skills, their knowledge. And if you look at the billionaires, that's how they made money in real estate and in business, by using other people's money and other people's time. So we go through that in the course on how can you do that on a small scale. All right, hey, I want a little side hustle. That's a business. Cool. How do we do that and leverage other people's time or other people's money to build your little side hustle?
Steve, you got me blown away. You got me blown away, man. See, and see, now I want to do this more than ever now because, like I told you before when we talked on the phone, who doesn't want to go take vacations? Who doesn't want to have extra money? Who doesn't want to do things that they couldn't do before when they didn't have the money before? So, you're an example to all of my followers, and I have a lot of young people, especially that follow me,
Mhm.
and this could be life changing. I believe it will.
Yeah. I'm not young and cool, but man, I can help you with your money.
Gosh, you cool. You getting money. You cool as a fan. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So
So,
definitely, man.
well, good.
It was wonderful speaking with you, Steve.
As well. I enjoyed it. Thank you, Travis.
Do you have anything else you would like to say to my people, man? And to just to give them some encouragement, man, to join your team, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll tell you the one word of encouragement. Okay, it'll be a word of encouragement when I finish it. But 6 years ago, I had almost nothing. I had worked in financial planning, I'd worked in real estate, and I had done hundreds of millions of dollars of transactions. And I was flipping houses about 2016. I was flipping about 10 a month, which sounds like a lot, and it is. And I was not managing it well. And so I had a manager, my contract manager. I was so worried about selling the houses when they were done. I was just letting him handle the rehabs. And as long as, cool, another house, let me sell it, let me sell it, let me sell it. That's what I was focused on. Next thing I knew, he was out of money and gone. All the money was gone. I had 35 houses sitting there with no money to fix them up.
Wow.
And so it wiped out everything that I had built up to that point. And in 2017, I started over with zero income and zero assets. I'm like, all right, I better do it better this time. And so my point of that is I started over completely. And within about 3 to 4 years, I had $1 million of equity. And now, we're looking at 30 to 50,000 a month of passive cash flow. And so that took 6 years, starting from zero. So from an encouragement standpoint, that's pretty encouraging. You can get there. There's just things that I've learned, things I wish I'd done 20 years ago, but I've done them in the last 5 or 6. So
awesome, awesome. And can you please let them know where they can follow you at again? And can you let them know your website? Can you give them all of your information so that way they know how to get in contact with you?
Sure. So the website again is infinitepassiveassets.com. So infinite, that's INFINITE, passive, PASSIVE, assets, ASSETS.com. Infinitepassiveassets.com. That's the main website. We have that same name on our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is also Infinite Passive Assets. Those are the two main ones. And trying to think what else. If you wanted to email me, again, you could go to the website, but it's just steve@infinitepassiveassets.com. So those are probably the easiest ways to reach me.
Steve, it was awesome. It was a pleasure talking
Good.
to you, man.
Thank you so much, Travis. Look forward to maybe doing it again. This was fun.
There's no maybe, we will.
Okay,
See you
fantastic.
next
I look
time.
forward to it. All right. Thanks, Travis.
Take care.
Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.